We will see how this goes. This is my first time like trying to do the show outside of my normal hours, and yeah, we're gonna see. I'm hoping to eventually put this to where you guys can actually see it. I'm hoping to eventually do some of this early in the day and then have my normal Monday episodes. But we'll see. But that's the goal. I'm going to go live with you guys. I've got my little man behind me, so if you hear little coos and things like that, that's what that is. Oh yeah. I'm trying. We'll see how this goes. He might get frustrated with this and I might have to end it early. This is kind of a trial. But eventually, hopefully, I'll be with you guys whenever I can go live during the day. So think of it being somewhere around this time, hanging out with you, seeing what's going on, doing a little bit of carving, working on the Path to Polymath series, to where I go from zero to hero, zero knowledge to somewhat proficient. That's the goal. Right now, we are wood carving. So, yeah, I'm dropping all the wood. Tons of basswood. These are 2x2x4 blocks. And then we have some other ones kind of mixed in. This is like 1x1x4. They're not perfect, but they get the job done. And that's kind of, yeah. I wasn't sure if this was actually going to go live on TikTok. I actually have been having difficulty with that because TikTok requires generally 1,000 followers, which I do not have. I've also kind of neglected my TikTok. I've just been focusing on going live on Twitch, getting the studio ready, things like that. So most of that's kind of gone to the wayside. But I've revamped it now, so we'll see how this goes. Got a couple blades. We're going to strop those up today, refine them, polish them, hone them, as they say. Have it at a nice slight angle so we can get these blades nice and sharp. You having fun over there, little man? Yeah? Hanging out with Poppy while he does a little carving? I don't know. This could be a hour-long episode, and it could be a 15-minute episode. We are going to see. He's in that very early stage. He's around 8 months, and he's just mobile. He's getting it, you know. He's not quite crawling. He's like kind of a scooter, as I say. And he is not walking yet, but pulling up on everything and using his insanely sharp little claws to decimate anything, any bit of skin he can get a hold of. Let's give this ye old test. That's with 2 sheets. Not bad. 1 sheet. Ooh. So, not bad. I feel like that blade is good to go. Let's put some more of this compound on here. So what this is basically doing is, as long as I can keep little burrs and little nicks out of this thing for a long time, all I'm going to need to do is this to keep it nice and sharp. So this is what we do. We just have it at an angle, put this dropping compound. It is, I'm guessing, somewhat abrasive. I know that this is leather right here. And it just taking just very, very small amounts of it off. I have other tools, but I don't feel like I'm going to actually need it. And honestly, I wasn't sure how long I was going to go on, so I actually didn't have anything to carve. Per se. I have something, but I don't want to sit there and just look over a video on my phone, you know? So I've got this multi-chat on, but I'm not sure if it works, to be honest, because I haven't seen anything yet. But that's indicative of my show where I have lurkers, as I love them, but I have lurkers hanging out, and then I have nobody really comments. So we will see. Maybe I can get this looking a little bit better. We're going to go into our camera, our lighting. I think that looks a smidge better. Got a Dremel on the ground. That's probably not the safest. You know, if I want to burr a big hole in my leg. Let's get this bad boy going. Yeah. That'll do. That'll do. I'm thinking about doing like a full screen where it's carving, and then behind me will be a green screen for people that are on like TikTok and YouTube shorts, and that way they don't have to look at this whole background unless they find it interesting. If you're just now tuning in, this show is called Trade Skills. We basically, it's just a knowledge-seeking show. So initially, we started where we would do interviews with people and find blacksmiths, glassblowers, woodworkers, paranormal investigators. Here, let's do this temporarily. I think this thing is so freaking tight on here. I can't even. Yeah. So we find blacksmiths, glassblowers, woodworkers, musicians. I've had paranormal investigators, archaeologists, drag queens, photographers, Marvel Comics illustrators, jazz pianists, bluegrass, breakdancing, roller skaters, the works. So we seek knowledge, and then we find these guys. We interview them, and if they're down for it, we drink beer and review beer. So I've toned back the beer a bit because nobody wants to see somebody just drink by themselves. Right, little man? Ah, ah. He's been doing that lately. Little knocking sounds and all that. Oh, this one's not turned on. Wonders. Makes sense why I'm not very well illuminated on that side. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, so we've interviewed some awesome people, and we drank some good beer, and that's kind of what the show has been up until this point. But recently really the ultimate goal was just for knowledge. I was curious about a lot of things. Jake was curious with a lot of things. He was my co-host. and we didn't have the time to learn all of these things. I was really big into like film photography and traveling all over the world, and this show was a big hobby of mine. I also like, video games, things like that. Maybe I'll stream some of that for you guys eventually as well. We'll see. But I came here to the state. I know nobody here. I don't know anybody here. So I figured this would be a great time for me to go on a path to polymath. So that is a polymath is somebody who is proficient at a lot of different things. Think of like a jack of all trades, not to be corny, but essentially that. So I'm starting with wood carving and whittling, and I've whittled some cute things. This is like a comfort bird, um, a little beard, and he's not great, but I'm also very new at this. We have um, like a nice little, you hear him back there. um, this is like a little gnome, and I did a bear, which, he's, for some people, he's cute. For me, he's cute. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to do his face, and I'll still probably just work on a little bit. We've got like a frog in like a little suit, like a little fox. Cute. Yeah, so I'm working on this skill of whittling and wood carving, and then eventually I'm going to move to something else, whether that's pottery, whether that's um, like making stained glass. He does knocking sounds too. Making like stained glass art, doing mosaics, sculpting. So these are all in the works. I'm also working on some things that are kind of like going to benefit the show, but aren't something that I can capture in the show, like learning, becoming better at video editing and things like that. So that is the goal. These very sharp blades, but I feel like they're nice and honed up. I don't think we've tested this one yet to see how it's doing. This is my school loan paperwork. I feel like it probably needs a little bit more. There's nothing important on that, so if anybody is like, oh, you need to be showing your information, there is absolutely nothing in there of any importance. It's just talking about my repayment plan, and it's the same paperwork that everybody gets who can't just pay outright or doesn't get scholarships. Yeah, I feel like that blade is good to go now. So we're gonna put some of these Kevlar gloves on. Now you can buy kits on Amazon. That's initially what I did, and I've got little things here and there to kind of like make the experience a little bit better for me. I've gotten books. There's like, well, I got it upstairs because I was reading it, but like basics of wood carving and whittling, and there's templates that people use. They'll sketch out on these what they want to do. For me, one of the big struggles is like learning the negative space. So like seeing a block, minusing things from it, and knowing what to minus from it to make something, if that tracks, if that makes any sense. This little screen looks like I'm at like 2 megapixels. It just might be. This is not a great webcam, but he does his best. He's dropped all his little toys on the ground. He's like, there is nothing fun. Says just a guy with a beer. I actually don't have a beer. I think it's a little too early to be drinking beer. I'm in the Midwest, so it is all of like what, 1 o'clock, 1:20. Facebook, she sent me something. I will check that here shortly. But yeah, so in the kit, it gives you some like Kevlar gloves that are supposed to keep you from getting cut, or at least help avoid you getting cut. But I mean, they're not great. I definitely got cut with them, so not optimal. but I went to Walmart and got these, and these are designed to be, and they're fairly cheap, like cut resistance and C-cut. So A9 is what I got. I'm sure there's varied levels of protections. I feel like the more protection you probably get, the less dexterity, mobility that you get with this. So A9 for me seems to be pretty nice. A few different cuts whenever you're wood carving. You have your stop cut, which is going to be, here we'll angle this bad boy back down. You have your stop cut, and that, just as its name implies, it is a cut you're going to do to keep your blade from going any further and mistakenly taking off too much. This is what's called the push cut. Notice how my thumb is guiding this. So I'm not using my wrist. I'm putting the blade in and using my thumb to guide it along. You've got your pull cut, and you have to be really mindful of the grain, because if you're not, and really mindful of the angle, because just a small difference will change everything. You can, what I call, chip the wood, or you're basically like ripping the wood. And if you're taking off large amounts of wood, that's not a bad thing. If you have to like really get down here, like if I'm making a tiny spoon, you need to take off a lot of material. So that's fine. But the bad thing about those kind of cuts is they're not controlled generally. So stop cuts help with that. So I'll do another little stop cut. You're going to come in with a straight line, and then depending on which area you're cutting from. So if I was cutting from down here, I would cut down at this angle, and then since I'm carving from this, I'm going to cut down in this angle, kind of a steep curve, because I want it to be a pretty gnarly little stop cut. And anytime my blade comes, it's always going to just stop right there, if you've noticed. It is a stop cut. They are efficient. They are every woodworker's. It's in the arsenal. I'm trying not to take off too much of this because I actually wouldn't mind using it for a later project. That's just something you're going to have to, I mean, obviously if you're wood carving, it's just something you're going to have to constantly get. It's just more wood. So whether that is you going out and sourcing it yourself, you know, fallen limb or something, but every wood cut's different. So this is basswood. This is kind of like beginner level, but still a lot of professionals, a lot of pros still use it because it's just really easy to cut. It's easy to work with. It's consistent as far as its grain goes. You're not going to get crazy knots and funky stuff, especially the stuff that's processed like this. But yeah, hold on. All right. And if you have any questions, like by all means, chime in, say something. I don't like that. Let's see this. Sorry, I had to like work his little toys, you know, his little things to keep him interested. Suppose I should put this in a scene that you guys. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, the stop cut, we'll recap a bit. Stop cut is when you just do a line like that in there, usually like a harsh edge. So I'm going to do one across the grain here, or across the whole thing, and dig in a little deeper. And try to work it out to where it's a nice little groove. And that's essentially my stop cut. So it'll allow my blade to only go so far, and then it, as its namesake says, stops. That's where I don't want to take off any more material that direction. Recap, this is our push cut. My thumb is guiding it and actually doing the pressure. So without it, I mean, that just feels uncontrolled. It feels dirty. It feels nasty. So I'm not a big fan of that. But this push cut, man, you can just really get in here and just like shave. And depending on the angle you put in, you could take off as little or as much as you want. But push cut is not the only tool in the arsenal. And a lot of times you can't push cut a whole project. I mean, that would be a challenge. I'm sure somebody's done it, just push cut everything. But you also have your pull cut. So pulling from the opposite direction. And with this one, you're essentially just closing your fist. I'm not doing this, I'm just closing my fist. So I've got this locked in with these fingers, and I'm just closing my fist. So, and then in that, you're not really going to get too close to your thumb, which is, what you want. And you can shave with this too. But notice, I don't know if you saw that, with this pull cut, it chunks a little bit more. Maybe because my angles are steeper. I feel like I have less control with a pull cut than I do with a push cut. But everything can't be push cuts. You just over there making noises? I don't know if you guys can hear them. You might be able to. He's a sweet little man. And this is my first attempt today of doing an episode with him here, with him present. So push cut, pull cut. You have like a gouging or like a scoring cut. So that's whenever you're going to, I like to do it with a little more control. So you're going to basically dig your blade in at an angle. So a lot of like relief cutters will do this. So let's say I want to put a little harsh angle like that. I'm putting an S in. And then I'm going to come from the opposite way and put my little blade in and try my best to follow that curve. And it's going to leave you with that. Just kind of a... It's not perfect, but these are things that in time they'll get honed. You're just grunting just to grunt. You make me look over there because I think you're choking on something. You're not. You're just making noise. That's fine. You're so dang cute. You're just grunting? Oh, okay. Yeah, today, man, he just did not want to go to sleep. There's like a pyramid cut as well. You'll kind of dig your blade in like this. Like this. Or diamond cut. It's just going to make like a little... I don't know if you guys have any questions or anything. I know it's my first time really going live with TikTok, and this is probably a first Tuesday Wednesday. Holy shit. Wednesday episode of Trade Skills. But again, this is kind of a test episode, so you guys can't even see it from there. This is awkward trying to get in here so you guys can see. So there's my push cut. My pull cut. If I'm gonna pull cut, I think it's you want attention, little man? I hear you. I'll get off here shortly. I just kind of wanted to make sure I could actually go live. And I am. So again, if you guys are tuning in, Trade Skills is a show where I go from... Trade Skills is a show where I interview talented and passionate people. I have a hunger for knowledge. But this part of the series is called Path to Polymath. A polymath is think of a jack of all trades, so I'm going to go through in a series going from zero knowledge of something to somewhat proficient. Usually on my Monday episodes, I'm a lot more prepared. I was supposed to go live Monday, but you know what? I wanted to get my little man's his nursery together. So I only have a certain amount of times off to be able to do it, and my babe as well only have a certain amount of time together, free time, so we try to use it when we can. And I've been so militant, I guess would be the term, about trying to go live every Monday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. That was kind of my move, right, for a long time. I was just going live on those times, and if it was 8:50 and I'm not in front of the computer with everything tested and everything confirmed and all of that, I was losing my shit. And if it was 9:01, I was just super annoyed. And we did that for, I don't know, 6 years, give or take. I lose track of the time. Honestly, I lose track of the time. I'm not even sure if you guys can even hear me. I'm hoping you can. You guys on TikTok. But I guess I can check it afterwards and see kind of what was going on. If not. But I've decided to kind of tone that back. My life was different then when I had those times. I could be a lot more strict about it and a lot more but a lot more militant is the word I used earlier. But that is not my life now, you know? I think for the better. It allows me to be a little bit more liquid, a little more fluid with when I go live and just kind of how I treat the show. And it kind of just honestly put a lot of my priorities in scope. So he's just coughing. He's just coughing to cough. He's playing with his little toys and he's hugging them and coughing. What was that noise? What was that? Hey. 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 He's freaking adorable. Yeah, so like I said, today is a bit of a test, but if you are just checking me out on TikTok, thank you for tuning in. I am gonna try to go live a couple times a week, still doing my Monday night thing at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, but just because I think it's nice to have a little bit of consistency. But before, when I would lose my shit if it didn't go right, now not so much. So because I am going live other days of the week, and I think doing this as well will get me some more time to practice my wood carving and some more time in front of you guys, and kind of help me get used to talking to myself until people start popping into the chat. Before I had a co-host, and I mean, it was great when I had a co-host. He's chaotic, you know, in a good way. But I found a lot of times more often than not, when we didn't have people to interview, we just kind of hung out and drank beer. So, although that is fun, how it aligns with the original idea of the show, it doesn't. Beer was always supposed to be secondary. It's supposed to be like, as I said, the lubricant for conversation. So when I would have a guest on and maybe they were a bit nervous, at first, you know, quieter, reserved, but by like beer 3, beer 4, sometimes, you know, by beer 6, we're talking about existential things. We're talking about free will. We might talk about Bigfoot or aliens. It was always a good conversation. And then we've had people on the show that just were not really big into beer, and those were always fun as well. We had like a sponsorship. I guess you can call it a sponsorship. It wasn't quite a sponsorship. We had a very well-known brewery donate a lot of beer and like stickers and koozies and a lot of like the free swag to the show because they like what we were doing. And then we had a guest on, and he was more of a rum guy and a very talented guy, bow builder. Check him out, Big Jim Bow, Big Jim's Bows. He's been featured on Field and Stream, and he's in Albany, Georgia, but he ships bows all over the world. He makes amazing recurve and longbows. Very, very talented guy. But he was more of a rum guy, and we were bringing him beer. So, you know, he was just like, oh, tastes like cat piss. And we were like, oh, the sponsors are watching. Shit. It is what it is, you know. It is what it is. We've had some crazy interviews with people who just were not big beer guys. But that's the name of the game, you know? Instead of doing a normal stop cut, I'm going to do one of those nice little things that I mentioned earlier. These angled, whatever you call these cuts. I think this, since I don't use that cut often, I am not super familiar with this name. To my own detriment, you know. But that's what this is all about. It's all about me learning and you guys joining me on the journey and seeing me like suck ass for a while. And then as the show goes on, maybe like suck a little less ass and then be, you know, somewhat decent. So I think I've carved up this little bad boy as much as I'm going to get him carved up. He's not supposed to be anything right now. I was kind of just showing you guys a couple of the carves. Kind of introducing myself to some of you TikTok guys. If you've checked out some of our videos before on TikTok, they're a bunch of goofy stuff. It's usually unrelated to the show. It's usually me and my co-host just goofing around because that's just what we do. We also have 98% of our videos on YouTube. So yeah, you can check that out. So you go to YouTube, type in Trade Skills Podcast, and that is us. We've got, I don't know, 150, 170 videos. I'm not really sure. There's a lot of them in there because we've been doing this for a hot minute. There are a couple episodes, I would say probably, I don't know, 10 or 12 that only went live on Twitch because we were having complications, or just went live on Facebook Live because complications. So some episodes were just completely lost forever. The experience wasn't, but the video was. But yeah, if you guys give me a follow, a like, all that jazz, I love it. I'm not here to make money. I've opted out of the what do they call it, the affiliate program on Twitch, I don't know, 5 years ago. So we're still like good to go to affiliate if we want to, but I opted out of it. I'm just not really trying to make money with this. This is just, I love learning. I'm always seeking knowledge. And this is a great way for you guys to hang out with me and watch me go through this process. And ideally, after I get to a certain level of proficiency with this and with all the other skills that I learned throughout the Path to Polymath series, I'll have somebody to interview on who is proficient, more so than me, at the skill. And we'll kind of go over some of the things, the misconceptions, how long they've been doing it. We'll show off some of their work. We'll show off their Instagram. I am going to be highlighting different influencers, wood carvers that I like, and I'll probably do that throughout the rest of the Polymath series. Maybe not every time I go live, but definitely trying to get that on Monday nights. Monday nights are like the longer episodes. They used to be 2 hours, but now I'm just kind of going until. I think that's kind of the better way to go. I think there were a lot of people who were kind of staying a lot longer than I think they maybe had wanted to. I interviewed some older guys, and you know, they're like, hey, if I stay out any longer, my wife's gonna think I'm cheating on them. So we had to, you know, cut it short. And even then, they stayed longer than they originally had planned to. You know, it was supposed to be an hour-long episode. Maybe they said an hour and 30 or an hour and 40 minutes. We had like a primitive skills guy come on, Ranger Ben. Very, very talented guy. He's been working at the zoo in Albany, Cheehall Park. He's been working at that zoo for a long time, teaching primitive skills. He teaches them on his own as well, so he can go basically into the woods, kill an animal, use every piece of it from making clothes to weapons, atlatls, making fires, all of that stuff. He's been doing that for almost longer than I've been alive. So that was one of the really, really early episodes. Sadly, I wasn't, not that I'm saying I'm experienced now, but I definitely wasn't experienced then. I didn't have any gear. I think I might have had my phone set up on like a taller version of this, you know, like I had it on a tripod. It was using the mic off that, so the audio was horrible. Not ideal, but the interview happened, and honestly, the first, I would say, probably 15 episodes, it slowly went from phone propped, and if you guys are watching on Twitch, you've seen this, you've heard this from me a million times, and I'm sorry, I'm an old man, I repeat myself. Sue me. Don't sue me. I don't have any money. Anyways, but progressively, I started adding more gear and becoming more knowledgeable, and some stuff worked, some stuff was cool, green screens and green man suits and all kinds of effects, face filters, voice filters. Those are all fun, but I feel like for the most part they deter from what this is about. I mean, I am here to have fun and to learn, but you know, sometimes it was just like Jake and I in a green screen being silly and getting tipsy. And that was the episode. That should have actually been the episode name every time we did that, which was often. Anyways, guys, I'm getting ready to end up the episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Anybody who watches afterwards, thank you kindly. Today was not like a carve per se. I was more so introducing myself to the TikTok crew, going live, kind of testing it out, seeing. I finally got the TikTok working, so it's, I'm live on TikTok, and I'm also testing to see if my son is okay with chilling down here with me for 30, 40 minutes, I think in time it'll get better, or it'll get worse. You never can tell with kids. Things that he's fine with one day, a month later, he doesn't like, he hates. Or things that, like a certain pacifier or binky in the parent world, it's called. One that he likes for 3 months, a month later, he puts in his mouth and is like, and just tosses it on the ground. Kids evolve, as they should. A weird caveat, well, I guess it's not a caveat, it's relative to what I was just saying. I never understood before being a parent, why people were like, oh, my kid is 13 months, my kid is 24 months, which, just say 2 years. If you want to say 26 months, I guess that's a year and 2 months. But anyways, to people who don't have kids, it doesn't really make sense, and it's stupid, and it was stupid, and it still can be stupid. Like, my kid is 48 months old. My kid is 32 and a half weeks old. Like, stop. But people who are like, oh, my kid is 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, whatever. There's so many like massive milestones that happen from like 6 months to 8 months, or 4 months to 5 months, or even, depending on the kid's development, 4 months to 4.5, So it's crazy, it can go from 1 week to the next where they're crawling to where they are pulling themselves up on stuff to where they're taking their first steps within a week's time, Depends on their development. But I'll quit off on that tangent. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thank you guys for being awesome. I will see you guys on the next episode. Could be tomorrow, could be Friday, who knows. I'm like 80% positive it will be Monday though. You coughing again, buddy? But either way, guys, thank you for hanging out with me, and I will see you soon. Much love. See you guys on TikTok. Welcome to the Train Skills team. See you again soon. I'm not using it. You ready to go, little man? Poppy got to turn off the stream. Yeah, we're still watching. At least TikTok is still so insane. We're gonna go off the air. So much love to you guys. Ciao.